Welcome back to Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. Let's move on. And US President Donald Trump also announced plans to impose reciprocal tariffs on trading partners, which also includes India. Parikshit is here to give us more details on this one.
The conversation on trade was definitely a big headline from the Modi-Trump meeting. Both leaders have instructed their governments to start working on a mutually beneficial trade agreement, something that can be signed when Donald Trump visits India in fall this year. So that was the intention. But clearly, the conversation on the trade deficit was a tense one. Donald Trump saying a number of times that India is a very high tariff nation. It is an abuser of tariffs. In fact, even during the press conference in the White House with Prime Minister Modi, he said that India charges U.S. with very high tariffs. Harley-Davidson has been unable to have high volumes in India because of tariffs. How electric car makers have not been able to operate in India very well because of 70% tariffs on imported electric cars. He said that because India charges us so much, we are now going to impose reciprocal tariffs on the Indian government and charge them whatever they charge the United States companies. However, the reciprocal tariffs right now are in an exploratory phase, not just for India, but for other nations as well. There is a study that will be undertaken, and only after the 1st of April will a call be taken whether these tariffs need to be imposed as well or not. So there is definitely a breather. These tariffs don't come into effect immediately, and India is going to use this period of next 2 to 3 months to somehow thrash out a mutually beneficial trade agreement.
And Parikshit also spoke to Mukesh Aghi, the president and CEO at US ISPF, who said that the reciprocal tariffs are not intended against India alone and there is a breather for negotiation before they come into effect. Listen into the conversation.
I think he has been talking about it for some time, and he decided that today is scheduled to sign it. It's not targeted towards India or any specific countries. It's targeted to everybody. If you are charging 5% tariff on my goods, I will charge you 5%. If you're charging 50%, I will charge you 50%. So I think this was a way to basically negotiate with other countries and bring equality to the whole tariff system. So I think the way the process is going to be is there'll be a timeline given to India and other countries also to streamline their tariffs, bring it to the same level as the US is. If not, then at some stage, US will take it up. So there will be a process to basically adjust those tariffs. Will that impact India? I think so, because India's average tariff is roughly around 13%. US is around 3%. So there is a gap. When you look at specific in the segments like agriculture, India's tariff is almost 40%. But then US is also around 20% there. So I think there will be adjustments. There will be calibration, how to manage this. But overall, India will get impacted.
Also, let's listen into Parikshit's conversation with Richard Rosso of CSIS, talking about the Modi-Trump meet outcome and the impact of reciprocal tariffs on India.
Well, it looked pretty good from what we saw with the press conference. Still waiting for all the details and what's hammered out in the joint statement. I think the big thing we're looking for is, apart from announcing a trade deal, what are the other things India put on the table to try to appease Trump to make sure India is not a more serious target in this tariff war that also got announced just before the summit. So a lot on the table that we still have to parse out the details for, but at least from the press conference, looked pretty positive. You know, I think as much as India might put on the table in preparation for the joint statement today, India still has relatively high customs duties and also a lot of other barriers to trade. The quality control orders, some of the price controls that have been adopted. So something tells me India's not going to avoid altogether getting hit by this global tariff war, but at least you can take the sharp end off the spear by the trade deal, by provisions that are made in the deal today. It'll help a bit.